Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Procurement Transformation Mastering Supplier Risk Management with myself, Avonda Anderson, the founder and owner of Supplier Link LLC. We're super excited to be here today to talk to you a little bit about how we got started in procurement and why our product is going to revolutionize how you manage your procurement supplier risk. So we're super excited to get started here. So again, my name is Avonda Anderson, and I am the founder of Supplier Link. And Supplier Link was created really just out of the challenge of being in procurement for over the last decade of not really having information available at your fingertips. Processes are very manual. Cost savings can become a challenge with continuous improvement being very limited in some supplier relationships. And then just overall management into supplier performance and risk is very limited and very manual in its analysis and data gathering. So, as we progress and today into talking about procurement transformation and what that looks like, Supplier Link is going to play a very key opportunity for organizations that are looking to level set or enhance their procurement operations in regards to how you manage your supplier risk, and then how that information is then gathered and put together for you to develop great insights into your supply chain risk, so that you can optimize your contract negotiations or cost savings and efficiency as a result. So, super excited to get started here. So, a little bit more about me. My background has been in procurement for over the past decade, and I've worked across industries from manufacturing to financial services to sports and entertainment. My favorite role, of course, and most coveted opportunity to transform procurement came with the being the strategic sourcing manager at the Golden State Warriors, where I was able to make some inroads on helping to develop that program as well as supplier diversity initiatives. And I continue to carry that on into future roles, subsequent roles after at Autodesk as a principal supplier manager, where I really got firsthand knowledge of or firsthand application and just even more breadth of engagement with supplier management from a administrative standpoint, and making sure that the tracking, the monitoring of supplier performance was done in a strategic way. So I've had the opportunity to train at the best organizations and get real hands-on experience with supplier risk management, and that led me to creating Supplier Link as a result of my procurement initiatives and projects that I worked on in my previous roles. It really allowed me to see where the gaps are when you are talking about managing procurement risk as it relates to third parties. And then also continuous monitoring and tracking and real time predictive analytics is something that is still an area of opportunity, and that is what Supplier Link is looking to solve. We are a new startup, so that presents its own sets of challenges, but because of my long history in procurement and supplier management, supplier risk management, I feel that I have the best insights on looking at what the procurement professional is really looking for, and how they're planning to move procurement from a transactional function to a more strategic one. And that comes with a lot of great initiatives, especially when you look at how supplier risk management plays a huge part in that. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. So super excited again to be here with you today. And let's just take a look at the agenda for today. And we're going to start off with a brief introduction, not of me, of course. I've already given you that introduction, but more introduction on why procurement transformation is critical. The current state of procurement, just a very high level view, 50-foot view of what the state of procurement looks like, and challenges and opportunity in managing supplier risk. Then we're going to talk about what is it to really master supplier risk. What strategies could you use, and what strategies are out there for supplier management? And then what is procurement transformation? How to actually integrate your supplier risk management into your procurement process for maximum optimization and visibility. And lastly, a second to last is talking about technology and data. We're going to deep dive into the role of technology and how it's going to help transform that procurement. Transform procurement through data enrichment, and then also the benefits of procurement transformation. So what's in it for you if you do tighten up you in your supplier risk, and what does that really mean for your organizations? How is it going to benefit you in the long run, and how is it going to make your job easier? And then lastly, we're going to close out with some actionable steps for implementing procurement transformation techniques into your organization. And then letting you know, of course, a little bit more about the supplier link roadmap and how you can become a part of our pilot teams. And we are looking to pilot a supplier link at some organizations. So if you're looking for a tool and would like to be a part of our pilot program, we would love to do a discovery call to see if your particular organization is eligible for the supplier link pilot program. So, all right. So without further ado, let's get into this webinar, as I know you're all super excited to learn about procurement transformation, because it is so important to everything that we do in our lives. Someone is making a purchase is needing to get somewhere. So supply chain is a part of our lives, and we definitely have some risk ahead of us as we move into a state of inflation. Costs are rising as we move out of COVID. Resources and are still scarce and hard to come by, and people as well is still not as 100% robust in the workforce as it once was pre-COVID. So supply chain has taken a major hit, especially procurement professionals, on be more creative and strategic in how you go about procuring goods and services to keep your organizations with their competitive advantage. So why procurement transformation is critical? Why is it so critical for success in today's climate? Well, one, procurement transformation is very critical because it helps businesses stay competitive, improve cost savings. It helps mitigate risk and increase efficiencies around your key drivers of digitization, automation, data-driven decision making, and of course, resiliency in your supply chain. More and more, we talk about the landscape of procurement and what supply chain is going through, as I mentioned a few before, but kind of diving further, disruptions from globalization and technology and events requires new procurement strategies, right? So as we move into emerging markets, as you know, newer markets come online, there's going to be more and more opportunities for procurement to innovate their strategies of how they procure, especially as technology plays a part of that. And as people start to move around, and we can see that in labor shortage and material shortage in some areas. And so, how do we now go out and start strategically sourcing for those things? Cost reduction is also a major critical reason why procurement transformation is critical for success, because cost reduction and efficiency are still the most important, and risk management is even now more critical in changing procurement's function if you want to stay competitive. And then the need for better visibility and control across the global complex supply chain is another reason why you want to look at how you're transforming or make a plan to transform your procurement, because supplier issues, can damage finances, organizations, reputations, customers' trust. So all of these key criteria areas are key into why you want to start thinking about procurement transformation, specifically around your supplier risk management. So looking at that is, okay, well, what is the current state of procurement? What challenges and opportunities in managing supplier risk are out there, and what is best in class? Well, first of all, your current challenges in procurement include, very manual processes, as I mentioned earlier, lack of visibility, data silos. We have organizations that buy in silos that, are looking at their requirements and their requirements only. There's no enterprise expansions, or even including other departments on purchases, even if you're a smaller organization. Supplier risk compliance issues with conforming or any type of regulatory, requirements that is expected, especially if you're in manufacturing. You may have some requirements around, compliance for USDA or FDA, anything like that, any compliance issues that may be around technology or sustainability. Those things are becoming more and more of a challenge to manage and get in front of. And then, the changing customer expectations, as we start to move into a more sustainable, conscious, ecosystem, our customers are expecting that we have some of these things in place, or that we're have these procurement best practices included into our processes. And then, opportunities really, the on the other side, the opportunities that are available to managing supplier risk is, supplier collaboration, automation, reducing that manual process for collaborating with suppliers and stakeholders internally, better data analytics into real-time predictive insights. It gives you overall risk management and supply chain resilience. So it's opportunities and current state play hand in hand. So as you move into more, identify more challenges, there are opportunities that you can also identify for each challenge. But that is the power of what procurement transformation can do, is take these challenges, and then with the opportunities, you can start to put in measures in place to mitigate those risks as well. And so looking further and kind of doing a deep dive on the current opportunities, expanding supplier networks with lack of visibility into lower tiers. That is a huge area of opportunity, as tier two spend and beyond is limited to roughly around 15% for about 90% of businesses today with third party spend. And that's because, right, you manage your top vendors who you have the biggest spend with. And so you're trying to, again, maximize, the collaboration with those big vendors. But what about the smaller vendors that have majority of your spend, even if it's broken out? Those still need some, governance around how they're performing and so forth. So looking to scale, your procurement person can only manage so many vendors at one time, and then how do you do that efficiently is another area. So we help you with that, and Supplier Link advisory is another opportunity where you can link into our expertise, and we can help you with some of those. Some of those execution points. Another area is over reliance on few suppliers without adequate redundancy. I see this all the time where you have 90% of your spend with one supplier, doesn't allow you to pivot, doesn't allow you any type of price protection, doesn't even allow you real innovation because you are so dependent on this one supplier. So having insights into looking at that that's a one area of opportunity that you can look at when you're managing supplier risk. Another challenge is increasing regulations but limited compliance assurance processes. And I think this is across the board, no matter what industry you're in, as government changes policies, as different, agencies come out with different stipulations for doing business, tax implications, and so forth. These are the type of things that happen when you're talking about supplier risk that often go overlooked, but have a huge impact on supplier performance in your supply chain if they're not mitigated. Again, manual silo risk management, able to detect emerging risks. This is a huge area. A lot of times procurement is very reactive in their state of operation, so they respond. But the opportunity is to get more proactive insights into these emerging risks before they happen. The lack of linkage between supply performance data and risk mitigation. They go hand in hand. KPIs and your KRIs, or key risk indicators, go hand in hand. As you mitigate your risk, you increase your visibility into your supplier performance, and then that data is enriched, and you can have opportunities to manage your supplier risk a lot better. And short-term focus on cost rather than balancing cost and risk. This is, again, a huge area a lot of times because of that reactive state that procurement is often finding themselves in, is that we don't always have the opportunity to do thorough, risk analysis or cost baselining or benchmarking because the contract needed to get executed yesterday, right? So we don't have sometimes that luxury of going all out and doing these analysis. And so the opportunity is definitely there to have a solution that can provide you with some of this automated analysis. And then lastly, opportunity to embed risk management into core procurement processes is another area how we can think about looking at risk. Are you doing your QBRs, quarterly business reviews, different things like that? Are you doing surveys and risk assessments to understand how your business or customers are like utilizing features that incorporate supplier third party supplier management, or functionality that you need to monitor, uptime and response time and all those type of things, and again, KPI tracking. A little bit of shift on, of quantifying the current state of procurement challenges and managing supplier risk is, looking at it from, a global supply chain and what we can expect in the next 5 years. There was a recent study by Deloitte that said that global supply chains in the next 5 years, 80% of companies expect to have more complexity. So they're going to become even more complex. in the next 5 years. So the opportunity is to find better ways of managing those risks more proactively and those complexities more better than what we currently have. And supply chain disruptions cost companies roughly around $184 million per year on average. That's a big number. That was a study by BCG. And that goes in back into, what, again, the challenges around, that predictive or getting in front of supplier risk is just that disruptions, revenue loss is a pretty big hefty price to pay when you don't have good supplier risk management. And lastly, only 32% of firms are highly prepared for supply chain disruption. That leaves about 70% who are not. So that 70% are usually your companies that are either acquisition, piecemeal, right? They grew by acquisition and they still have not onboarded everyone into one ERP system. Or you again have these legacy organizations where you have just status quo of operating. No one's really come in and done any type of transformation. These things will cost you greatly, as we see over $184 million per year on average is lost due to supply chain disruptions. That's a lot of coin, okay, to not have management over. So, what does that really mean? All right, so we've understood what it is to transform procurement. We understand the challenges. We know what the opportunities are. So, how do we put it all together? How do we create a strategy for effective supplier management? Well, one is you want to really understand what effective supplier management includes. Well, it includes supplier selection evaluation, and it includes supplier performance management, it includes risk assessment and mitigation, it includes ongoing communication and collaboration. And the goal is to identify and build strong partnerships with suppliers that align, of course, with your business goals and values. And as we look at that, McKinsey did a study about 50 to on supplier risk management to see 50% fewer supply chain disruptions. So companies with advanced supplier risk management see a 50% fewer supplier disruptions. So if you have a strong supplier risk management, that equates to fewer supplier disruptions and fewer revenue loss, and maximizes maximize supply chain efficiency, and increases your opportunities for optimizing your supply chain costs. So again, you see how that goes hand in hand. As you mitigate supplier risk, you automatically stop or mitigate supply chain disruptions, and then that is a huge cost avoidance or savings as that equates to dollars, right? Because as we saw on the last slide, $184 million is lost to supply chain disruptions. So get your supply chain risk management, and you'll start to see these opportunities start to come more in line. So your first step is to develop methodology into quantifying supplier risk exposure. What does that look like? How likely is it? Have you classified your suppliers into criticality, into level of impact and likelihood of that risk taking place? If that's the first step that you have to do. And then secondly, you want to implement processes to continuously monitor and review the risk. So QBRs, CSATs, any type of 360 surveys, NPS surveys, and so forth. Use data and technology to get insights into supplier risk. We're going to talk about technology and how it plays a hand, and how we offer both here at Supplier Link. Advisory, which is our advisory arm that offers consulting on procurement related functions or support. We can help you there as well. And then institute cross-functional governance model for supplier risk. So again, who's going to be on the committee to when there's a risk, who's going to be your decision maker, those type of things, you need to have in place so that you can execute and mitigate risk as it comes up efficiently. You want to build strategic partnership and capabilities with your critical suppliers, right? You need to have regular cadence with them. They should be providing you with regular innovations and roadmaps on how they're developing their technology that can improve your business use case. You want to also diversify supplier base to mitigate your geographic and concentration risks. So, not being so concentrated on only doing business with U.S. suppliers, or what about moving into different areas of, the UK, or if you have all of your, DC through India, or your call center help centers through India, does that pose a threat if there's a huge, major, geopolitical or type of, infrastructure risk? You want to be able to spread that out so you can have backups for disaster recovery and so forth. You want to incorporate risk management requirements into supplier contracts. So you do this with your warranties. You can have disaster recovery, force majeure, those type of requirements could be into your supplier contracts to make sure that you are managing risk from a contract standpoint. And then lastly, creating incentives and metrics to drive supplier risk reduction. So automating, I want to give you now some facts, is automating supplier scheduling improves efficiency by 20%. So as you look to incorporate risk management, requirements into your actual procurement processes, you can do that by your auditing. That is, again, continuous improvement, and developing alternate suppliers for critical items reduces costs by 8 to 12%. So just by diversifying your supply base can reduce your cost by 8 to 12%. So huge opportunities to do that. So I'm just checking time and we're on time. So I'm going to go ahead and continue. And so now that we've understood what transformation is, what the challenges and opportunities, we understand what needs to be included in our supplier risk management. Now, how do we integrate that supplier risk management into your procurement process, right? It's important because as you integrate your supplier risk management into your procurement process, it requires you to establish a risk management framework. That's the first thing. You want to integrate risk assessment into your sourcing and the contracting process, and using risk-based performance metrics to evaluate suppliers. And when you include risk in your vendor selection, this reduces your supply chain interruptions by 30 to 40%. This is a survey done by Statistica that showed your supply chain interruptions decreased by 30 to 40% when you introduce good supplier risk management from the very front of how you select your vendors. So that's a huge impactful area opportunity for you. If you haven't been doing that, I'm going to show you in just a second how we can help you at here at Supplier Link, that we'll be able to help you with your vendor selection. You want to include supplier risk assessments in your vendor selection process. You want to make risk reduction and business continuity capabilities key award criteria. You want to have designated risk levels for each supplier to guide procurement decisions, right? So companies with integrated risk management have 9% lower procurement costs. Again, here's a straight impact to your procurement costs. This is a study done by Capgemini that showed this data. So implementing ongoing risk monitoring, communication, mitigation flows, provide procurement teams access to risk analytics and dashboards. All of this will help lower your procurement costs by 9%. So just think about that when you are looking at your procurement transformation roadmap and what you want to incorporate. You want to make sure you have those integrated risk management capabilities and embedded risk exposure into suppliers, scorecards, and performance reviews offer procurement and then offer procurement training programs focused on risk management. Procurement digital transformation delivers 4.5% increased EBITDA within 3 years. So this was a study done by HBR that showed that just how procurement digital transformation delivers a huge impact to your bottom line. So you definitely want to make sure that you're offering training and increased knowledge to your procurement folks around supplier management. So now let's take a look into the fun part as we have about 10 minutes here to wrap. Technology and data. The role of technology and data in procurement transformation is critical. And this is around supplier management and the software. So supplier relationship management software is there to manage your relationships and performance. You have some that just do that, and then you have some that just do risk, mainly around cyber. Spend analytics tools to track spending patterns and optimize costs, and then you do have some supply chain visibility tools to improve transparency and collaboration with suppliers. And AI has been a new risk prediction accuracy by 50 to 60%. Sorry, I'm getting a little hot. Has been known to reduce AI can improve risk predictions accuracy by 50 to 60% over traditional models. This was a study done by MIT. Another study done by Gardner said that blockchain is a new area of opportunity as it provides traceability costs down to 25 to 30% of your supplier product traceability. And lastly, Nucleus, a survey done by Nucleus said that rich management technology return on investment ranges from 300 to 800% over a 3-year period. So it is something that is not always going to be immediately available, or the cost savings or the benefit is not always immediate, but over time, that supplier risk management is what's going to really drive that continuous improvement over year cost increases. And of course, supplier intelligence and risk rating services is a huge area. And Supplier Link is going to be that avenue. As I stated, we plug into your existing ERPs, and we provide you with that lens into your frontline supplier selection. We do continuous improvement by looking at risk and doing supplier evaluations. So if you're in an RFP, you need to pull in information on a supplier and what their current levels of risk are, and looking and logging any type of risk, and getting alerts on any changes in your supplier profiles is also areas where Supplier Link can help. So definitely reach out to me if you're interested in exploring. As I stated, we'll be having that pilot program coming up here, and so we're looking for organizations to get signed up, and more information to come, but you're hearing it here on this webinar first. So definitely make sure you reach out to me at support@supplierlink.com, and I'll put that in the chat so you can have it. All right, that's in the chat, so you can reach me there or reach out to me directly. You can reach out to me directly there. Okay. All right. So now that we talked about technology playing its role and how that plays its role into supplier risk management, let's look at the benefits, right, of why this is important. Why should you put in the time, the effort, the to improve your supplier procurement management of supplier risk? One, it improves efficiency, cost savings, and risk mitigation. We've discovered that already in the previous slides that we reviewed. But what biggest area is that a study by A.T. Kearney said that mitigating supplier risk reduces unexpected costs by $28 million over 5 years, right? So that's a huge number, again, of cost optimization opportunities that you have when you bring in or rein in your supplier risk management, or beef up your supplier risk management with the techniques that I've shared with you today, as well as using a tool, a technology like Supplier Link that gives you visibility into those supplier risk in a proactive way. A study by Dun and Bradstreet said that companies with advanced supply continuity practices have 78% lower loss revenue from disruption. So you can lower your revenue loss by 78% if you have advanced supply continuity practices. So having those tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 suppliers set up, as well as backups in case your tier 1 or prime supplier is not available. And procurement leaders achieve 22% greater savings from negotiations, according to a study from Hackett Group, when they have improved risk mitigation practices. So, as you limit your risk and management of your supplier information, you'll be able to gain insights on how you can better negotiate agreements, especially if you have a good track record of that vendor's performance over the course of a period of time. You can show if they have improved or not, and that will drive greater savings from negotiations during renewals. And other areas and benefits is that you avoid costs and write-offs from suppliers that have non-performance issues. You lower costs through improved sourcing and contract negotiations. Reduce supplier auditing and monitoring overhead, right? So if you're doing this on a regular basis, it can speed up your auditing processes. Minimize supply chain disruptions from supplier issues, because if you're choosing better suppliers from the very beginning, you're automatically going to minimize that supply chain disruptions on the back end. And gain negotiating leverage, again, with your suppliers by reducing your risk exposure. Enhance supply chain agility and continuity. And then protect corporate reputation by minimizing risky suppliers. And lastly, achieve a competitive advantage through, again, supply chain resilience. So these are all areas, right, in which you can benefit from a procurement transformation. So let me give you some actionable steps for implementing the procurement transformation. One, right, you want to make sure that your transformation plan includes defining your procurement strategy and goals. This is going to be very key, because you need to define your desired future procurement state. What does it look like? And you need to do that with great detail. You want to also conduct a procurement process assessment. What is your current processes, technology, and capabilities, and versus the future state? So what are you doing now versus where you want to go? You want to develop a digital transformation roadmap. And by doing this, it helps you develop a business case that quantifies your benefits, your costs, and the resources required for any type of digital transformation, right? You want to make sure that you understand every aspects of that transformation, and so that you can roadmap it accordingly, especially if you need to get approved for budgets and so forth. Implementing new technologies and processes. So start with the pilot focused on high risk suppliers. first. So start with your most riskiest suppliers. Start with those big suppliers that have majority of your spend. You can use Supplier Links database, a plugin to do an evaluation of your most high risk suppliers, and we will be able to give them an actual risk score, a risk level, and then show you their areas of risk as it relates to the market. So we can help you with that. You want to also make sure that you train and align your team on new processes. So measure progress, demonstrate quick wins, so that you can sustain momentum. And then training your employees also helps continuously refine, your as the risk landscapes evolves. There's over 13 different type of, supplier risk, and many, many, many more coming online every day as we move into a more digital, AI driven world, and supply chain is getting more lean, where we're now moving in more robotics and so forth like that. So look for lots of changes in the supply chain and procurement space. And Supplier Link has been created to help you navigate those changes, strengthen your supplier risk visibility with our data analytics into procurement supplier risk management, and working with us as well as to advise on any categories within procurement transformation, whether it be strategic sourcing, category management, execution, contract negotiations, or a combination of all of those. And of course, using our plugin to drive your data insights into your supplier risk. So we've enjoyed being here with you this afternoon. I have enjoyed talking with you this afternoon, and I look forward to bringing you more webinars and insightful tips and tricks that I have used throughout my career in order for me to transform many of procurement departments, as I have been working in over the past decade at numerous of organizations across industries. So if you need some assistance, if you are interested in signing up for our pilot program that will begin in Q1 of 2024, please reach out to me at support@supplierlink or avonda@supplierlink.com, and just let me know that you're interested in signing up. We'll have more information, of course, on a formal sign up process, but you can go to supplierlink.com and hit the sign up form as well, and just say you'll be interested in our beta pilot program. For those who attended this webinar today, you will get a re-record where you'll be able to go back and you can, maybe take down some notes and start implementing some of these things right away into your procurement process. And again, if you need some assistance in your procurement strategic planning, please reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to give you a consult and to really help kind of just drive a discovery around where your capabilities are, opportunities, and then help you develop a plan that you can immediately implement and see some quick ROI into implementing those strategies. So again, I look forward to working with you all. Thank you again for your time, and any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. We're here to serve and look forward to transform your procurements one supplier risk at a time. All right. Good evening, everyone. Bye-bye.